Hello students, today we'll see the next chapter, that is the chemical screening and microcrystal tests. In the previous lecture we have seen that what is meant by narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, what is the introduction, what are the uh, objectives of that study, then what are the terminologies involved in that. Then we have seen that what are the uh, various offenses and penalties, what are the different prohibition, control and regulations of NDPS. So today we'll see the next chapter, that is the chemical screening and microcrystal test. In that we will discuss about the introduction, then know about the chemistry of color formation, and what are the different limitations of the chemical color test. The next one is the chemical color test methods, and last one is the documentation. So let us see one by one. So the first one is the introduction. So the chemical screening methods are presumptive tests commonly used to initiate the process of substance identification. So generally what happens if you consider any kind of analysis in terms of chemical compounds, we first deal with some physical measures, some physical or presumptive or preliminary tests, such as the color test. Okay, so this is the way by which we have to initially uh, come into kind of uh, some kind of identification tools. So these simple reactions cannot identify the substance without uncertainty. So, however, they do provide the preliminary confirmation of the presence of either the particular functional group or generic molecular structure. So, look at what happened. For example, if there is some kind of any functional group is there, so that particular functional group, whenever comes in contact with or whenever react with some kind of coloring reagent, okay, or we can say some kind of reagent, so it will form a definite color. Okay, so what happens? So that is the identity of that particular substance. So this is nothing but this is the particular preliminary identification of that compound. So by identifying this particular functional group or generic molecular structure, we can say that this may be possible in that particular structure, so that we can have the particular identification, next identification tool would be decided by using this particular preliminary confirmation. So the chemical screening tests produce a distinct color when the reagents are mixed with the compounds containing specific functional group. Although not highly specific, these preliminary tests will determine which subsequent method is best suited to identify the substance. But unfortunately, it is not uncommon for the two people to describe the same color in the different types. So this is because if you consider, so the particular analyst has its own technique. Okay, in some instances, if there is a proportion of a reagent and substance, or we can say the sample, it somewhat varies. So it will cause some different color, or the color intensity somehow different, and that's why we cannot say that if the two people performing the same test will use the same results. So the interpretation and reporting of colors can be influenced by the concentration of the sample, the presence of the diluents and adulterants, the age of the reagents, and the test reaction time also. So the also color transitions and instability may result in the formation of multicolored complexes. So there are certain kinds of substances which are stable for the very small period of time, but after some time they will show different kinds of color. Okay, and that's why it is very difficult to analyze such kind of substances. So the subjective and inconsistent nature of the color formation and reporting may call into question the use of the color screening as a feasible, viable method or not, especially in the area of controlled substance examination. So the fact is that we can recognize an allowance is made, and forensic chemists must prepare to justify the reports and conclusions behind that particular color test, or we can say the behind that preliminary test or preliminary analysis. Then next one is the what is the chemistry of color formation. So generally what happens, visible light, that is white light, contains the mixture of the wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum ranging from the approximately 350 nanometer to 750 nanometer, that is a violet to red. Okay. If some of these wavelengths are removed from the white light, so it is no longer observed as a white. So all matter is composed of the atoms and molecules. If the object is colored, atoms or molecules absorb a portion of white light and thus removing it from the visible range. So the observed color of the object is not the light that is absorbed, so it is the remaining wavelength that is reflected. So this is the phenomenon. We can say that it is the phenomenon of complementary color. So the particular substance will absorb some kind of color and reflect another kind of color. So this is nothing but the complementary phenomenon of complementary color. For example, if the red light, that is a light of 750 nanometer wavelength, is absorbed by an object, so it removed from the white light and the object appears as a green. So the mixture of the reflected wavelength gives rise to the green color. Then a chemical reaction will produce different colored products if it changes the light absorbing capacities of the reagents, that is starting material. So the color screening tests produce distinct color by changing the light absorption properties of the controlled substances. So these changes are often directly related to a small change in either the orientation or the location of the electrons in the structure. For example, primary amines will react differently than the secondary amines when mixed with the specific kind of reagents. Tertiary amines may or may not react with reagents that produces change in primary and secondary amines color. Though the locations of electrons in the three-dimensional structure of the molecule is one of the factors that determines the color. So depending upon the particular presence of electron, there is some amount of electron transfer is there, and it will also cause the formation of the color. So the color and intensity of the product produced in a chemical screening test may be affected by the acidity of the test solution. So the Acunas-Levin test, a recognized standard in the identification of the cannabis resin, relies heavily on the pH of the solution to produce the color change. So the addition of the Dakinus-Levin reagent to a small or suspected cannabis resin produces a color change only after the particular pH whichever is adjusted with the HCl. So the Chen's test is an example of how the intensity which is affected by the particular pH. In the Chen's test, like Aquinas-Levin test, the color is not observed until the pH of the test solution is adjusted. As we know that there are certain kinds of titrations are there, acid-base titrations are there. If you consider strong acid, strong base titration, strong acid, weak base titration, weak acid, strong base titration. So that particular endpoint is appeared at the different pH, and that's why what happened, the particular indicators used in this titration, they are different because every indicator every indicator has its own range for changing its color, okay, and that's why we can say that the pH will play the important role in the color formation of this kind of tests. However, the intensity of the color is dependent on how the pH is adjusted. Then, as we know that the color screening tests are non-specific in nature. Suppose if you consider there are two different carbonyl compounds are there. If you consider aldehyde is there, ketone is there. So one reagent might give the test to the positive test to the particular aldehyde, and it might doesn't give. It may not give the positive test for the ketone. So that's why we can say that the color screening tests are not specific in nature. So they are also used to confirm the presence of either a functional group or the characteristic structure. So they cannot be used to positively identify the substance. However, they can indicate the presence of a specific class of the compound. Unfortunately, not all compounds respond to the chemical color tests, and in some instances, the screening tests are significantly more complicated than the confirmatory tests. They are an excellent method to effectively differentiate specific classes of the compounds. That are the some limitations of the chemical color tests. Then next one, What is actual chemical color test? What are the different test methods which are used for performing the chemical color tests? So the chemical color tests are generally performed by transferring a small amount of substance into the investigation to either the well of the spot plate or the test tube. Next, the reagent is added to the particular substance, and some tests may be conducted in a sequential manner using multiple reagents. So there are certain cases where different reagents are used, reagent 1, 2, 3. So we have to add the reagent in the sequential manner. So in these cases, the result of each step in the sequence are observed and noted. Positive and negative controls should be run on the regular basis to ensure the reliability of the testing reagents. So there are different kinds of procedures for the chemical color test. So the following is the basic procedure for the performing a chemical color test. So place a small amount of test sample in either well or of a clean spot plate or on an unused culture tube. Then add few drops of the chemical color reagent and record the immediate color. So, if continue if the test requires more than one reagent, we can continue that step. Then add few drops of the subsequent reagent and record the immediate color change. Continue adding the test reagent if required. Then what are the documentation? So a complete description of the reagents that involves the expiry date, color, physical properties, photographs, etc. should be included. Then a complete description of test substances, such as what is the color of that, what are the different physical properties of the test substance, what are the irregularities, then what are the different notable markings are there, what are the identifying characteristics, what are the photographs should be included in the description. Then observations during the test performance, that is the testing conditions, testing equipment, glass pair, spot plate, transition colors from initial mixing to the end of the test, photographs, etc. Then complete description of the results, that is the final color, positive or negative comparison to the published results, deviations, supporting evidence for the observed results, and photographs are the some complete sum of the results description. And simply regarding a positive or negative result should be avoided because it does not provide the adequate information for the subsequent peer or technical review. Okay, so this is all about the documentation and this lecture. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the some chemical test of the, or we can say the some color test. Okay, thank you.